The first sign that the universe was about to ruin his day came in the form of a dented atmospheric delivery pod smashing into the alley behind his apartment, scattering trash, steam, and several laws of physics that had been minding their own business until now. He stared at it from his kitchen window, toothbrush still in his mouth, foam slowly sliding down his chin as the pod hissed and unlocked itself with a noise like an irritated cat. He considered, very seriously, pretending none of this was happening. The galaxy was full of wonders, after all. Surely someone else could deal with this one. The pod opened. A girl climbed out. She looked human at first glance. Dark hair tangled from travel, boots too big for her feet, clothes torn in ways that suggested both panic and poor fashion sense. Then she turned her head, and her ears, long, elegant, unmistakably alien, caught the early light. She scanned the alley like a cornered animal, spotted him through the glass, and her eyes widened with immediate, furious recognition. "Oh no," he muttered around his toothbrush. "Absolutely not." She marched straight to his door and began pounding on it with both fists. Not knocking. Pounding. The kind of pounding usually reserved for fires, invasions, or very aggressive neighbors. He opened the door halfway, chain still on. "Can I help you?" he asked, already regretting every life choice that had led here. She jabbed a finger at his chest. "You." He glanced behind himself, just in case another him was hiding in the hallway. "Yes. You're not my real dad." There it was. The sentence. The kind that detonated a man's entire sense of reality. "I'm sorry," he said carefully, "but I feel like that's something we should have discussed at least 18 years ago." She groaned, dragged both hands down her face, and paced his doorway like she was trying not to scream. "I don't have time for this. They're coming." "Who's coming?" "All of them." "That's not helpful." She finally looked at him again, really looked at him, as if comparing him to something she'd been promised and finding the universe deeply disappointing. "You're smaller than I expected." "That's not the insult you think it is," he said. "Now listen, if this is about child support, I don't even support myself." She stepped past the chain before he realized it was possible, slipped inside his apartment, and began pulling the curtains shut with practiced urgency. His lights flickered. The air hummed. His toaster levitated 6 centimeters off the counter and promptly burned the bread anyway. He stared. "Okay," he said slowly. "Either I'm still asleep, or you just violated several appliance warranties." She turned to him, eyes sharp, voice suddenly steadier. "You're human. That part's right. Still can't believe it. Lady, you broke into my house, insulted my genetics, and declared I'm your father. If you're here to kill me, just get on with it." Her mouth twitched despite herself. "Relax. If I wanted you dead, 3 fleets would already be glassing this city." 3. She nodded. "One wants to study me. One wants to weaponize me. One wants to protect me. Which is worse, somehow." "And you ran here," he said, gesturing vaguely at his peeling walls. "Because?" "Because every projection points to you," she snapped. "Human male. No recorded importance. No strategic value. Maximum emotional interference." He blinked. "That sounds less like destiny and more like a clerical error." She hesitated. Just a fraction. Enough to notice. Maybe. Outside, the sky rippled. Not exploded. Not burned. Rippled, like reality itself had inhaled. He sighed, rubbed his face, and grabbed his jacket. "Fine. You can hide here. Temporarily. But I'm telling you right now, I am not ready to be anyone's dad." She looked at him, long ears twitching faintly, and for the first time her voice softened. "Good," she said. "Neither am I ready for you to be." Somewhere above the planet, 3 armadas adjusted their trajectories, and the universe smiled, because humans were involved now. By the time the power went out for the 3rd time, he decided this was no longer a coincidence but a personal attack. "I pay my energy bills," he said, holding a flashlight under his chin like a low-budget horror host. "I even pay the late fees. This is harassment." "It's not the grid," she replied from his couch, where she was dismantling his old wrist console with alarming speed. "It's me. That's somehow worse." She glanced up, one long ear flicking. "You'll want to ground your appliances. I'm leaking probability." He opened his mouth, closed it, then pointed at the floating screwdriver circling her head. "That sentence alone should get you arrested." She snorted. "Relax. Minor side effect. My stress spikes. Physics gets creative." As if to prove the point, the microwave beeped and displayed a countdown from a number that definitely wasn't part of human mathematics. He unplugged it immediately. "So," he said, sitting across from her with the stiff posture of a man negotiating with a bomb, "you want to explain why the galaxy thinks I'm related to you?" She hesitated, fingers stilling. "Not related. Connected. That's not better. You were part of a compatibility sweep," she said. "Decades ago. Quiet. Ethical. Mostly." "Mostly," he echoed. "They were looking for traits. Emotional resilience. Adaptive bonding. Pattern-breaking cognition." "You mean being bad at following instructions?" "Yes," she said. "Exceptionally." He leaned back. "This is about some experiment, isn't it?" She didn't answer, which was answer enough. The air vibrated. Not loudly. More like a warning cough from the universe. She looked up sharply. "They're probing," she muttered. "Who?" "All of them." He stood. "Okay. New rule. When you say all, you give me a number. 3 fleets. Different species. Same bad manners. And me. You're the variable they can't model." He laughed. A short, sharp sound that surprised both of them. "Story of my life." She studied him, eyes narrowing. "You're not scared enough." "I lived through customer service training," he said. "This barely ranks." Something thumped outside. Not an explosion. A landing. Precise. Polite. Which somehow made it worse. She moved fast, grabbing his wrist. The contact sent a jolt through him. Not pain, not electricity, but the sudden awareness of too many possibilities trying to exist at once. "Don't panic," she said quickly. "Excellent advice," he replied. "Terrible timing." A voice filled the apartment, smooth and layered, like 3 people speaking politely over each other. "We know you are here." She groaned. "See? No manners." He raised his voice. "You're trespassing." A pause. "This structure is registered to you. Human." "Still trespassing," he insisted. "Emotionally, at least." The voice continued, unfazed. "The child must be returned." "She's not a library book," he snapped. Her head snapped toward him. "Child." He shrugged. Seemed appropriate. The silence that followed was thick. Then she smiled. Small. Dangerous. Relieved. Outside, something shifted. The pressure eased, just slightly. "They didn't expect that," she whispered. "Good," he said. "Neither did I." Another voice cut in, sharper, militarized. "Hand over the asset." He pointed at the ceiling. "Let me guess. That one wants to weaponize you." She nodded. "Gold star." "And the third?" A new presence settled in, warm and invasive. "We only wish to protect her." She rolled her eyes. "That's the worst one." He took a breath. Then another. "Listen up," he said, projecting the tone he usually reserved for malfunctioning machinery. "She's staying here. Temporarily. We're discussing this like adults." The silence stretched. Calculations happened. Mistakes were made. She looked at him, long ears angled forward, disbelief written all over her face. "You know they could erase you." He smiled thinly. "They could try." Above the city, 3 armadas hesitated. For the first time, uncertainty belonged to them. The knock on the door came exactly 4 seconds after he finished saying, "They wouldn't dare." It was a very polite knock. He stared at the door. The girl stared at him. "They dared," she said. "I hate it when I'm right in the wrong direction." The knock came again, followed by a gentle chime that made his doorbell sound embarrassed by comparison. The walls hummed. Somewhere in the building, a neighbor screamed, then stopped screaming abruptly, which he decided to interpret optimistically. He cleared his throat. "If that's the building manager, tell him I already emailed." The door spoke. "Human resident," the layered voice said, warm and falsely calm. "We request entry. Peacefully." "No," he replied. A pause. Then, clarification requested. "No," he repeated, slower, as if that would help an alien civilization grasp the concept. "As in not yes. As in go away." The girl snorted. "You're enjoying this." "I really am." The temperature in the room dropped by 3 degrees. He felt it in his bones. She tensed beside him, long ears angling backward. "That's the Second Fleet," she murmured. "Intimidation protocol." "Joke's on them," he said. "I grew up without central heating." The door shimmered, briefly becoming transparent. On the other side stood something tall, symmetrical, and far too clean for his hallway. Its eyes, if that's what they were, focused directly on the girl. "Asset identified," it said. She stepped forward. "I have a name." "Designation supersedes." "Rude," he interrupted. "In this house, we use names." The thing paused. Actually paused. She looked at him like she wasn't sure whether to laugh or scream. "You're negotiating etiquette with a conquest unit. Everyone has boundaries." Behind the conquest unit, the hallway warped. Space folded in on itself, revealing a second presence, sleeker, quieter, watching rather than threatening. The Third Fleet's representative. The Protector. "We wish no harm," it said gently. "The child is in danger here." "She's in danger everywhere," the girl shot back. "At least here I get snacks." He nodded. "I do have snacks." The Protector hesitated. "Nutritional intake is irrelevant." "That's where you're wrong," he said. "It's extremely relevant." The conquest unit raised one arm. The lights flickered violently. She grabbed his sleeve. "Okay, humor time is over." "Already." "They're about to breach." The walls groaned. Time stuttered. He felt a pressure behind his eyes, like the universe was trying to remember him incorrectly. He took a step forward anyway. "You want her," he said. "Fine. Get in line." The conquest unit tilted its head. "Explain." "She doesn't belong to you," he said. "Or them. Or anyone who talks about people like equipment." The Protector's voice softened further. "You cannot protect her." He laughed. "Not bravely. Not confidently. Just honestly. I can barely protect my credit score." The girl looked up at him. "Then why are you doing this?" He thought about it. About the way she'd burst into his life like an accusation. About the fear she hid behind sarcasm. About the way the galaxy saw her as something to be claimed. "Because someone should choose you," he said. "Not because you're useful. Just because." For a moment, everything froze. Probabilities stopped leaking. The girl inhaled sharply, like she'd been underwater too long. The conquest unit reeled back a step. The Protector flickered. Above them all, something unseen recalculated. "That wasn't supposed to work," she whispered. He swallowed. "Did it?" Outside, alarms began to sound, not human ones. The fleets shifted. Formations broke. Arguments rippled through subspace channels. The Protector spoke again, uncertainty threading its voice. "You are interfering." "Yeah," he said. "I get that a lot." She stared at him, long ears trembling, eyes bright with something dangerously close to hope. "You're still not my real dad," she said quickly, defensively. He smiled. "I know." She grabbed his hand anyway when the door finally shattered. And somehow, impossibly, the universe hesitated to punish them for it. They ran. Not heroically. Not in slow motion. They ran like two people who very much enjoyed remaining alive and saw no reason to stop now. The hallway stretched, folded, then helpfully rearranged itself into something that resembled stairs, which he took two at a time while shouting, "I don't usually host interstellar invasions on weekdays." Behind them, something screamed. Not in pain. In irritation. "That's the weaponizers," she yelled. "They hate losing assets. I hate losing my security deposit." They burst through the stairwell door and into the street, where the sky had given up pretending to be normal. Shapes pressed against it from the other side, like fingers under thin fabric. People pointed. Some filmed. Someone tried to sell snacks. She skidded to a stop, dragging him with her. "Wait. For what?" he gasped. "The dramatic reveal? Because I'm good without it." She pressed her palms together, eyes unfocusing. The air bent. Sound dulled, as if reality had been wrapped in insulation. "Localized probability pocket," she said. "Buys us time." "Of course it does," he said. "I should get one of those." They ducked into an abandoned transit station that smelled like rust and old arguments. The world outside blurred, paused, then resumed at a safer distance. He leaned against a wall, hands on his knees. "Okay. We need rules." She sat across from him, knees drawn up, long ears drooping in a way that made her look younger. Tired. "Rules won't help." "They help me," he said. "Rule 1. No more surprise fleets before breakfast." She huffed despite herself. Silence settled. Not hostile. Just heavy. "You meant it," she said finally. "About what?" "Choosing me." He shrugged. "Didn't feel optional." Her jaw tightened. "You don't know what I am." "You don't know what I am," he shot back. "Fair's fair." She laughed once, sharp and bitter. "They made me to be compatible. To bond. To influence. My ears aren't decorative, they're markers. I'm a living interface." "And?" he asked. "And you don't accidentally become the emotional anchor for 3 rival powers unless you're dangerous." He considered that. "I once broke a vending machine by asking for tea." "That's not the same." "Feels related." She looked at him, really looked, as if searching for the hidden equation that explained him. "Why aren't you afraid of me?" "I am," he said. "I'm just more afraid of what happens if no one stands with you." Her eyes burned. "You're not my real dad." "I know. You're not even supposed to exist in my narrative." "Story of my life." She stood suddenly, anger flaring. "Stop joking. This is serious." "I know," he said gently. "That's why I'm joking." The station lights flickered as something tried to peer inside the pocket. "They won't stop," she whispered. "I break things just by caring." He pushed off the wall. "Then we'll care strategically." She blinked. "That's not a thing." "It is now." Outside, the fleets argued. Algorithms clashed. Commanders demanded compliance. Inside, a human and an almost human girl shared stolen time. "You're really doing this," she said quietly. "Even after everything." He nodded. "Someone has to teach the galaxy a bad habit." Her throat worked. "If this goes wrong." "It will," he said. "But we'll improvise." She stepped closer, hesitated, then leaned into him, forehead pressing against his chest. He froze, then awkwardly rested a hand on her shoulder. "Don't get used to it," she muttered. "I still don't accept you." "Fair," he said. "I don't accept the fleets." The probability pocket shuddered. She pulled back, long ears lifting, resolve hardening. "They've adjusted." He cracked his knuckles. "Good. So have we." Somewhere in the universe, the idea of ownership began to fail. And it hated humans for it. They didn't escape so much as fall sideways out of danger. The probability pocket collapsed with a sound like a disappointed sigh, and suddenly they were somewhere else. Still the city, technically, but threaded through with wrong angles and borrowed time. The station ceiling flickered between decades. An advertisement argued with itself. Gravity took a moment to decide which way it felt. He steadied himself on a railing. "Next time," he said, "we flee in a straight line like normal people." She rubbed her temples. "You complain like this is my fault. You bent reality." "Yes. That's generally frowned upon." She shot him a look. "You stood up to 3 armadas. Also frowned upon." They moved through the half-remembered tunnels, her steps precise, his improvised. Overhead, something vast slid past, its shadow rippling through layers of space that weren't meant to overlap. He pointed upward. "Let me guess. Weaponizers." "Recon," she corrected. "They're learning." "Fantastic. I hate being a lesson." They reached an old maintenance tram. Dead. Then not dead. It hummed to life like it recognized her. She frowned. "I didn't activate it." He squinted at the controls. "It says, manual override." "That's not possible." He pulled a lever anyway. The tram lurched forward. She stared. "You just—" "I know," he said. "I didn't even read the instructions." She laughed, startled, then clamped a hand over her mouth as if afraid the sound might summon something worse. The tram rattled through tunnels that weren't on any map. The fleets followed at a distance, arguing with each other, with physics, with the idea that a human could matter this much. She sat opposite him, knees bouncing. "They're adapting to you." "That's rude. They can't predict you." "Neither can I." She studied him, long ears angled forward. "You're not special." "Thank you." "You're not enhanced. Or trained. Or important." "Please stop," I'm blushing. "You just choose." He shrugged. "It's a habit." The tram shuddered as a new presence pressed close. The protector's voice seeped through the metal. "You are destabilizing her." "She's sitting," he said. "Seems stable enough." "She is unraveling." The girl flinched. "Am I?" He leaned forward. "Listen. You don't get to define her damage." Silence. Then, softer, "You will be destroyed." He smiled tiredly. "Probably. But not today." The weaponizers cut in, all sharp edges and confidence. "Yield the interface." "No." "Yield." "No." "Yield." He sighed. "Do you have a shorter script?" The tram burst into light as she reached out, not to attack, but to anchor. Space twisted. Routes realigned. Somewhere, a fleet overshot reality and had to backtrack, embarrassed. She gasped. "I can't hold this." He stood beside her. "Then don't. Let go." "I break things when I let go." "Then we'll break the right things." She looked at him like he'd just handed her a dangerous gift. Then she closed her eyes. The tram vanished. They reappeared in open air, standing on a bridge that shouldn't exist anymore, overlooking a city that had learned to live with impossible things. Sirens wailed. Above, the fleets argued louder. She swayed. He caught her. "You okay?" he asked. Her voice was small. "I'm scared." "Good," he said gently. "Means you're still you." She laughed weakly. "You're terrible at reassurance." "I'm consistent." She pulled back, meeting his eyes. "You're not my real dad." "I know. But you're still here." He nodded. "Yeah." Above them, 3 armadas recalculated again. And again. And for the first time, one of them began to wonder what humans would do next. They hid in plain sight, which turned out to be the most offensive tactic imaginable. The bridge phased out of existence behind them with a sulky hum, leaving them standing in the middle of a public plaza where people were already tired of strange skies and had collectively decided not to ask questions anymore. A street musician kept playing. A vendor sold glowing pastries labeled, "Probably safe." She stared around, disoriented. "This is a terrible place to disappear." "Welcome to Earth," he said. "We disappear professionally." Her ears twitched. "They'll scan everything, then act normal." She looked at him. "Define normal." He bought 2 pastries. Handed her one. "Eat. Look annoyed. Ignore the existential threat." She took a bite. Froze. "This is good. See? Civilization." Above them, unseen but felt, the fleets tightened their net. Sensors swept. Calculations bloomed and collapsed. She winced. "They're triangulating me." He chewed thoughtfully. "Can you triangulate back?" "I could," she said. "But then they'll know exactly where I am." "So don't hide," he said. "Complicate." She studied him. "You want me to be loud?" "Emotionally," he clarified. "Strategically." Her breath caught. "That's dangerous." He shrugged. "So is being quiet." They ducked into a transit hub, blending with commuters who had decided that aliens were just another delay. She leaned against a pillar, eyes unfocused. "They built me to synchronize," she said, "to resonate with dominant emotional patterns. Humans are chaotic." "Thank you." "When I connect to you," she continued, "it amplifies. I don't just feel, I broadcast." "Is that why the fleets keep arguing?" "Yes." He grinned. "I always knew my feelings were disruptive." The protector's voice slipped into her mind, gentle and insistent. "You are deteriorating." She hissed under her breath. "Get out. You require containment." He leaned closer. "She requires autonomy." The weaponizers cut in, harsher. "The interface is destabilizing. Terminate bond." She laughed suddenly. A sharp, wild sound. "You hear that?" He nodded. "They're scared." She pressed her hands to her ears. "They're afraid of what happens if I choose wrong." He met her gaze. "There is no wrong choice. There's just yours." The world tilted. Time lagged. People around them slowed, then resumed, unaware. She grabbed his arm. "I see it now. The experiment. They didn't pick you because you were compatible." "Let me guess," he said. "I was cheap." "They picked you because you weren't predictable," she said. "Because you wouldn't obey a script." He smiled softly. "I failed a personality test once." She laughed again, then faltered. "If I sever the resonance, they'll lose me." "And you." "I'll lose this." She gestured between them. He considered. "Temporary loss. We're good at rebuilding." She swallowed. "You're not my real dad." "I know. But if I do this," she said, voice shaking, "I might never feel this safe again." He rested a hand on her shoulder. "Safety isn't a place. It's a practice." She closed her eyes. Let go. The shockwave wasn't loud. It was emotional. 3 fleets recoiled as one, systems flooding with unresolved human nonsense. Loyalty without ownership, protection without control, love without leverage. Alarms screamed in languages that had no word for choice. She sagged. He caught her. Above the planet, one armada began to withdraw. Another hesitated. The third fractured, arguments tearing through its command. She opened her eyes, exhausted but smiling faintly. "Did it work?" He looked up at the calmer sky. "I think you just taught the galaxy a bad lesson." She breathed out a laugh. "Good." She leaned into him again, lighter this time. "You're still not my real dad." He squeezed her shoulder. "Yeah." "But you're staying." "Yeah." Somewhere far away, a civilization rewrote its models. And humanity, once again, broke the universe by caring too much. The sky finally made up its mind and chose chaos. It didn't tear open dramatically. It simply reorganized. Lines appeared where none should exist. Colors argued with each other. Somewhere above the clouds, something massive miscalculated confidence. She noticed first. "They've stopped negotiating," she said quietly. He looked up, squinting. Rude. The plaza had emptied without anyone quite remembering leaving. The street musician packed up mid-song. The glowing pastry vendor vanished, cart and all, leaving behind a sign that now read definitely not safe. "That's new," he muttered. The ground vibrated, not from impact, but from alignment. The weaponizers arrived not with ships, but with intent. Space folded and unfolded until they were simply there, a formation of impossible geometry hovering just above the buildings. The protector fleet followed, slower, hesitant, like someone arriving late to an argument and pretending they hadn't rehearsed speeches. And then the third force made itself known, not by appearing, but by blocking everything else. A dead zone spread outward, smothering signals, dampening power, silencing probability itself. She stiffened. "That's the suppressor armada." "Let me guess," he said. "They solve problems by deleting them." "Yes." Bold strategy. The air grew heavy. Her breath hitched. "They're cutting me off. If they isolate me now—" He stepped in front of her without thinking. "Then they'll have to deal with me first." She grabbed his sleeve. "That won't help. It might annoy them." The weaponizers spoke, no longer bothering with courtesy. "Interface destabilization confirmed. Termination authorized." "Hard pass," he said. The protector countered immediately. "Preservation mandate active. Lethal force unacceptable." "Fantastic," he sighed. "Galactic custody battle." The suppressors didn't speak. They simply advanced, erasing possibilities as they came. She clutched her head. "I can't feel anything. They're flattening me." He glanced around, then did the only thing that made sense to him. He sat down. She blinked. "What are you doing?" "Refusing to escalate," he said. "It confuses bullies." Sure enough, the advance slowed. She stared. "You're ridiculous." "Consistently." She laughed weakly, then choked on the sound as pain flared. "I don't have much time." He stood, took her hands. "Then choose fast." "I don't know how." "You do," he said. "You always did." The suppressor field pressed in. The protector faltered. The weaponizers prepared to fire. She looked at him, long ears trembling. "If I do this, they'll never stop fearing humans." He smiled grimly. "That ship sailed when we invented sarcasm." She closed her eyes and reached, not outward, but inward. Instead of amplifying, she focused. She chose a single bond, a single emotion, stripped of usefulness and power. Trust. The effect was immediate. The suppressor field cracked, not shattered, but fractured by something it couldn't nullify. The protector fleet froze, overwhelmed by conflicting directives. The weaponizers lost targeting as their systems failed to categorize what she had become. The sky screamed. She gasped, staggering. He caught her. "Did I?" she began. "You broke 3 armies," he said. "No pressure." Above them, one fleet retreated in full disarray. Another powered down, stunned into inaction. The suppressors hesitated. That was new. She sagged against him, exhausted. "I can't do that again." He nodded. "Good thing you don't have to." She looked up, eyes fierce despite everything. "You're not my real dad." He smiled tiredly. "I know. But you're the one I chose," she said. The suppressor armada pulled back. And for the first time since she'd been created, the galaxy accepted a decision it hadn't approved. Slowly, reluctantly, but completely. The sky put itself back together with the quiet embarrassment of something that had overreacted. Ships withdrew without ceremony. No victory music, no last threats. Just absence, spreading outward as armadas recalculated priorities and decided, collectively, to be elsewhere. The dead zones lifted. Signals returned. The city exhaled and went back to pretending none of this had been personal. He sat on a bench that hadn't existed yesterday, watching emergency crews argue about paperwork they didn't have clearance to file. "So," he said, "on a scale from 1 to 10, how mad are they?" She tilted her head, long ears flicking as if listening to distant echoes. "One fleet is filing a protest. One is rewriting doctrine. One is pretending this never happened." "Ah," he nodded. "The healthy coping mechanisms." She smiled, tired but real. "They won't come back for me." "You sound sure." "They can't," she said. "Not without admitting they lost. And nobody likes that." She leaned back, staring at the sky. "I'm different now." "You always were." "No," she said softly. "Before, I was reactive, built to respond. Now I choose when to connect, when to care." He glanced at her. "That sounds exhausting." "It is," she agreed. "But it's mine." They sat in companionable silence. Somewhere nearby, the glowing pastry vendor returned, replaced the sign with "probably safe again," and resumed business. She broke the quiet. "You changed too." He raised an eyebrow. "I did." "You used to avoid responsibility," she said. "Now you argue with armadas." "Character growth," he said solemnly. "I blame you." She laughed, then sobered. "What happens now?" He shrugged. "You stay. Or you go. Or you do both. Humans are big on options. I can't stay hidden forever." "Good," he said. "You're terrible at it." She looked at him, expression careful. "If I leave, I don't want it to be running." "Then don't run," he said. "Walk. With snacks." She smiled again, brighter this time. "You're not my real dad." "I know. But you're the one who stayed when it stopped being heroic." He considered that. "I'm good at inconvenient loyalty." She stood, stretching, ears catching the light. "The galaxy will adjust." "It always does," he said. "Usually after complaining." She took a step, then hesitated. "Will you be okay?" He gestured around. "Rents still due. Dishes still exist. Reality's back to normal." She smirked. "Normal is relative." She leaned down, pressed her forehead briefly against his, then pulled back before either of them could overthink it. "Thank you," she said. "For what?" "For choosing me without trying to own me." He smiled. "Basic human flaw." She turned and walked away, not disappearing, just moving forward. People glanced at her ears, shrugged, and went on with their lives. He watched until she blended into the city, then stood and headed home. His apartment was a mess. The toaster was still floating. He sighed, unplugged it, and reached for the broom. Outside, the stars watched quietly, and for once, they didn't interfere.